Apparently the plan is for y'all to be in a straight line.
In April, climate activists chained themselves together to protest Senator Joe Manchin. They'd come to physically blockade the power plant that buys its coal products from Manchin's family company and risk arrest to stop its operations.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom! It is our duty to fight for our freedom! It is our duty to win! It is our duty to win!
There's undercurrents to the politics of our country that often have a lot to do with money, industry, special interests. And while everyone knows about that stuff in the general, they may not realize how it can manifest in a single senator, and sometimes it takes more than just showing up to the voting booth every couple years to really make the point, you know?
Manchin holds a key vote in the split Senate, and he's used it to block his fellow Democrats' legislation. That includes the Build Back Better bill that would have been the biggest step towards a renewable energy transition to date.
I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't.
He's cited rising inflation and the cost of the bill as his reasons for rejecting it. But his critics say it's because of this, the Grant Town power plant. The plant burns a dirty byproduct of coal mining called gob, which it buys exclusively from Intersect, the company Manchin founded in 1988. He turned it over to his son when he became a U.S. Senator, but he still earns about $500,000 a year from the company. That's in a blind trust. But that's not going far enough, according to government ethics experts.
How does coal and politics intersect in the state of West Virginia?
Well, I think it intersects with Joe Manchin is the bottom line, because he has an interest in a coal company that sells its coal to an electric utility. And at the same time, you have policy that's being created on the Hill that would impact those financial interests. Build Back Better contains certain provisions that would have provided financial incentives to utilities and customers to get them away from fossil fuels and into alternative fuels. If he hadn't killed them, it would have adversely affected his business interests in Intersect. I mean, he basically killed that legislation.
And you think that's because of his conflict of interest here?
You can't view him as having an impartial interest. He's very much weighed down with fossil fuel interests.
Manchin had a different take on the matter when we found him outside of a meeting of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which he chairs.
Senator Manchin, I have a question. Did your involvement with Intersect have any effect on why you did not want to support the climate provisions in Build Back Better?
Not at all.
Do you think that coal should be eliminated from any kinds of
You have to have, let me just
climate
make sure.
provisions
Hold
going
on.
forward?
Let
Okay.
me make sure. You understand? We need a two-path system, okay? You have to have the climate, and you have to have the reliability of the fossil. Those two will cross sometime. Could be 5 years, could be 10 years, or whatever. You can't eliminate one before the other.
Senator, should coal be phased out eventually as a source of energy?
You have to be using every resource you have. Every resource. In my state of West Virginia, 90% of the people get their energy their electricity from coal-fired plants.
Recently, Manchin has been talking about bringing back some of the climate and other provisions in Build Back Better. But if any new legislation comes of it, it's clear he wants coal to stay in the mix.
He gave us a clear example of exactly the kind of evil and corruption that is ruining our country, that is ruining our world. And he has given us a clear opportunity to stand up together and make it stop.
That's right. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see it passing now. And I think instead of Manchin being scared that West Virginians are going to suffer by changing into cleaner energy, he could get on the drawing table and say, listen, I'll pass it if you're putting those jobs in West Virginia first. West Virginia deserves to have new opportunities and to not just have it crumbled away by a senator who claims that, oh, we don't need it and we need coal.
Do you think this group out here today in Granttown represents the community of Granttown?
That's a tricky question because it is hard for communities like Granttown to see coal as anything other than their only sustenance. When this is the only real business in their town, obviously it does tie in very closely with their home life, with their community.
When our community is under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that! What do we do? Stand up like that!
Manchin's political and personal fortunes are intertwined. People here vote for whomever says they'll protect the coal industry. West Virginia went for former President Trump by 38 points in the 2020 presidential race. What do you make of this protest today?
That's their opinion, you know, they can do what they want, but like I say, I can't see, you know, I thought Joe was okay. I don't know the reason why these people are against coal. You know, it employs a lot of people.
How do you think Senator Joe Manchin has represented you?
He's done good for West Virginia, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, he's a politician. I understand he's a senator, but he was governor in West Virginia, and he helped West Virginia.
Do you have any problems with Joe Manchin's family being involved with the Granttown power plant?
No, not really. A lot of politicians are involved in a lot of things. Of course, I understand Joe Manchin's probably a millionaire. You know, I understand that, but he come up through the ranks just like everybody else.
16 protesters were arrested at the plant that day. While the blockade prevented the entry of truck shipments during the rally, operations at the site have since resumed as normal.
Ain't no power like the power of the people. Let the power of the people don't stop.
I'm Michael Learmonth, editor-in-chief of Vice News. Too often, traditional news outlets shy away from the real stories and experiences of those living through global conflicts. Not Vice News. Our reporters are on the ground, fearlessly covering the human stories that shape our world. You and millions of others can continue to read, watch, and listen to Vice News for free. But we hope you'll consider making a one-time or ongoing contribution of any size at vice.com/contribute. Every contribution, no matter how big or small, helps support the journalism Vice News brings to you every day. Thank you.